Generative AI.
Artificial intelligence and LLMs are everywhere lately, and tools like GitHub Copilot and Cloud Code seem almost magical. It is very hard to know what is actually done using artificial intelligence and what is coding as we knew it before the LLMs era. So lately I took some time and I tried to understand, and what I realized is that not everything is AI and it is absolutely not magical. In less than 300 lines of simple code that any person with some background in computer science can understand will build Cody. It's an agent that is similar to VS Code, this GitHub Copilot and Cloud Code. It can search through our code base, it can read files, it can edit them. Before going into the code, let's highlight some facts. As a user, when we are interacting with an agent, which could be Visual Studio Code's GitHub Copilot or Cloud Code or any other agent, this agent is actually just a software, a computer software that's built using some programming language like we knew before. The thing is, this program has access to an LLM, which is a large language model that can only output text. So you would be asking, so if LLM only output text, how these agents are able to do other things like making a web search or editing a file? That is done with the help of what we call tools. A tool can be a simple JavaScript or Python function that we describe to the LLM when we are sending the user message. So when a user type help me understand this code base, we don't just send this message to the LLM, we wrap it with some system prompt to guide the LLM in a direction that we want. And in this system prompt, we also tell the LLM that it has access to such and such tool. And if the LLM needs to access this tool, it should respond with some formatting that we tell it to, and we parse this output. And if we detect a tool call, we call the tool and we send the output of the tool call to the LLM with all the previous conversation so that the LLM have the context. So at their core, that's it. Now that we understand that, let's jump into the code. We will be using JavaScript, but it could be done using any programming language, and if you understand basic things in programming, you will understand what we are doing here and you can translate it to other languages very easily. So the first thing that we need is that we are going to import some packages from Node.js, which will help us read what the user type in the terminal with the read line, and also be able to interact with our file system. The path, for example, is to know the absolute path for a file, for example, and the fs is for reading a file and also for editing a file. After that, we'll have some colors. These will help us have different colors in the terminal output, and then our system prompt. So when a user asks us something, we don't just send the user message, we will send with it a system prompt. Like here, we're saying this, you are a coding assistant whose goal to help us solve programming languages, all of this. And then we say, here are the tools that you can execute. And here we will inject our tools in a bit. And we say to the LLM, when you need a tool, you respond with this text and only this and nothing else, you see. And we say use a compact single line JSON format with double quotes, and after receiving a tool call which will be formatted this way, continue the task, and if no tool needed, respond normally. So after that, we will need this resolve absolute path just to know the absolute path of a file when the LLM asks to read the file. Then we have our read file tool. We have list files tool, so that when we ask, for example, what is in this code base, the LLM would first list everything that is in the current folder. And finally, we have our edit tool file. And then we will just group them in an object. And then here we have our get tool representation. In this function, we describe every tool we are going to actually inject it to our system prompt, as you can see here. So we are injecting every tool, and I'm going to show you in a bit what this system prompt after injecting the tool look like. And then we have a extract tool invocation function that is going to look for the pattern that we told the LLM to use here. And if the pattern is present, it means we have a tool call. So we are going to add it with its arguments to a invocations array, and we return it. And then we need to send the conversation that's happening to the LLM, and here I am using a Gemini model because I have a subscription there, but you can use any other LLM. So a conversation is simply an array that will contain the conversation that happens in a session. Finally, we use all these functions in the system prompt in a function that we call here the agent loop. So here we show this just to have some logo there. Then we are going to instantiate our conversation. The first message that will be in the conversation is our system prompt, and we use this role because you can have roles that you send to the LLM. The LLM are trained to know that, for example, a role which has system should have more weight, in the sense that, for example, if in the system we say you do not answer questions related to math, and the user asks a question about math, the LLM could say, no, I am not allowed to respond to this. And then we are simply gonna use this prompt user, which is simply gonna ask the user something in the terminal, and when the user responds, we get it back in this user input, and we add the user input in the content here in the conversation array, and then we enter this while loop. So the first while loop, what it does is that it asks the user to type something. Let me call it first. So I'm gonna call it below. So that is what's happening. The first loop is this. It asks the user to type something. So after the user types something here and hit enter, we're gonna enter this second loop, okay? And we're gonna call the LLM, which is a conversation array that will contain our system prompt and then the user message. And we're gonna get back a response from the LLM. And we look in the text that the LLM has sent us whether there is a tool call or not. And then we push the response from the LLM using a role called assistant here. So we're gonna push it here, and then we look whether the LLM asks us to make a tool call or not. If there is not a tool call, we're simply gonna output the message to the user and we are done. If it is not the case, the LLM has asked to make a tool call. So we are gonna make the tool call here, and we are going to append the tool result using this specific way as we described in the system prompt, and we push it to the conversation, and we say this time it's the user, because it's the user that is giving back to the LLM the result of the tool call. And then we get back again to the while loop, and we do that again and again until the LLM responds with no tool call invocation, and we output the message. So now if I, for example, let's say I ask, who are you? Okay, so it says, I'm a coding assistant, I can help you with programming tasks. So this is actually coming from, this is helping in getting back this response. Let me ask it about, for example, the code base. Let me say, tell me more about main.js, for example. Let me go back. So as you can see, the LLM has asked us to call the list files function with these arguments. So it asks us to list all the files in the current directory. Okay, so we run list files function and we give back to the LLM. And also the LLM has asked us to call the read file function with this parameter. So we run it and we send back, and finally the LLM answered with no tool call invocation, so we simply show the response back. So I can also say to add a description, a comment at the top to tell what the file is doing in, let's say, 3 phrases, something like this. So as you can see, it has added this. So the LLM, we can use actually our agent to build our agent, which is very funny. So as you can see, it has asked us to call edit file with these arguments. So yeah, as you can see, it's not magic, it's just software engineering which use an LLM. I'm gonna link the code in the descriptions. You can check it. You can also make it better, because for example, we are not streaming the message that we receive from the LLM provider as it arrives, like actual agents like Cloud Code do. And I forgot, I said that I'm gonna show you actually what this system prompt look like. We're going to console log it. Let me run my agent. So if I make it bigger. So our system prompt that will be at the top of our conversation array is this. So here we are injecting all the tools. So we say the LLM, you have access to this tool, to this tool, and to this tool. And if you need to use one, you respond in this manner. So yeah guys, that's it for this video. As you can see, it's a very interesting one. And let me know what you have thought about it. And I will see you in the next one, hopefully very soon. I had to take some time off lately, but maybe we will be able to continue also our series on the LinkedIn clone project. Let me know if you want some topic specifically for me to discuss in upcoming videos. Thanks, bye.